That is the end of that statement. I'll give a few moments for the front bench to swap over. Order, Lee Anderson.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. During the debate on defence and security, the leader of the SNP described Reform UK MPs as Putin's puppets and that they were missing from the debate. This is not true. I was present for the Prime Minister's statement, left for a comfort break and returned for the rest of the debate. In fact, I've been in this chamber now nearly 4 hours today. Funnily enough, when I returned to the chamber, Madam Deputy Speaker, the leader of the SNP or none of his MPs were actually present. The leader of the SNP has misled the House and should apologise if you can find him.
I'm grateful for the honourable member for giving notice of his point of order. However, that point of order was slightly longer than what he provided notice of, and I no doubt he's also let the member know that he was speaking about him. And the honourable member should know that it's not appropriate to be accusing other members of misleading the House. Now, as ever, it is vital that members on all sides maintain good temper and moderation in debate. Was there another point of order, Gregory Hamble?
Mr. Speaker, thank you. Many people will become aware of the controversy that has occurred recently regarding the BBC's decision to broadcast and then only subsequently withdraw after a public outcry on their iPlayer service the documentary Gaza, How to Survive a War Zone. It featured the son of a Hamas deputy minister, and now further revelations have occurred in the past 24 hours that the cameraman on the film has put up a celebratory tweet after the October 7th massacre. I know the Minister has already indicated publicly she was to speak with the Director General of the BBC about this outrageous lack of due diligence on the part of the BBC, but has she indicated to the Speaker's office that she intends to make a statement to the House to allow honourable and right honourable members the opportunity to seek further clarification and get some answers for the wider public?
Hear, hear.
I am grateful for the honourable member for giving notice of his point of order. I have not received any indication that a minister intends to make a statement to the House on this matter. But culture, media and sport questions will be on Thursday, and I'm sure the Table Office will be able to advise him on how to pursue this matter further. Now, if there are no further points of order, I go on to the presentation of Bill. Secretary Yvette Cooper.
Crime and Policing Bill.
Second reading what day? Tomorrow. I now go on to the 10-minute rule motion, and I call Jessie Norman.
Thank you very much indeed, Madam Deputy Speaker. I beg to move that leave be given to bring in a bill to require the Secretary of State to publish and implement a plan for cleaning and improving the water quality of the River Wye and for connected purposes. Madam Deputy Speaker, as Shadow Leader of the House, I am rarely allowed to speak on behalf of my constituents from the back benches, so I'm sure you will understand that this 10-minute rule motion is a priceless opportunity for me to highlight a vital issue of both local and national significance, the plight of the River Wye. The Wye is one of the most beautiful and ecologically significant rivers in the UK. Rising from the slopes of Flynn in mid-Wales, it winds its way through via Hay-on-Wye and Hereford and on to Ross-on-Wye before heading down to Simon's-Yat, Monmouth, Tintern and the Severn Estuary. The Wye Valley too is renowned for its beauty. It is a special area of conservation with 2 sites of special scientific interest. The river is thus a vital part not only of the local economy in Herefordshire, but of our landscape, our culture and our heritage as a nation. Admired since Roman times, it is one of the birthplaces of British tourism, the origin of the movement known as the picturesque, and the inspiration for some of the finest poetry in the English language. Yet in recent years, the river has faced huge environmental pressures, particularly from high phosphate levels, which have harmed water quality and aquatic life. The rapid growth in certain farming sectors, including poultry, has brought economic benefits, but also placed additional strain on the river, as well as agricultural runoff, sewage and wastewater discharges, and changes in land management have also contributed to the problem. And these pressures have been compounded by rises in water temperature and changes to seasonal water flow. Many of these specific problems and their interactions are still not fully understood, and so there is a real need for proper research as well. Building on the work of Councillor Alyssa Swinglehurst and the Why and Usk Foundation, among many others, I first highlighted this issue in September 2020. From the start, I pressed the agencies, that is the Environment Agency, Natural England and Natural Resources Wales, for a collective response, and then called on them for a cross-border all-catchment long-term action plan. In June 2021, working with other catchment MPs of the time, I invited the national agencies and the local councils on both sides of the border to a special meeting devoted to this issue. In October 2021, I coordinated a letter from Y catchment MPs to the Chief Secretary to the Treasury, calling for a specific spending package devoted to the Y in the 2021 three-year spending review. The result, lockdowns and other pandemic delays notwithstanding, was the Hereford Shell Store meeting of July 22 and the set-up of the Y Phosphates Working Group, whose terms of reference were then adopted very much with my support by a Phosphates Commission established by the 4 local authorities. All these things helped to bring people and groups together. But in the course of it, I'm pleased to say, we also had one major win of substance. I had called for the proceeds of fines on water companies to be ring-fenced and devoted to a new National Rivers Recovery Fund. In November 2022, the government accepted this ring-fencing. In relation to the why, it's important to be aware that much good work has been done on the ground. The Cross-Border Nutrient Management Board has carefully assessed and assembled a range of potentially useful measures. Thanks to detailed assessment work with Welsh Water, it now looks as though local sewage and wastewater discharges will be brought within national standards, though only by the early 2030s, which is still far too slow. And the community response on both sides of the border has been magnificent, with hundreds of volunteer citizen scientists actively taking weekly water readings under the aegis of the Friends of the Y and other organisations. But at the national level, I'm sorry to say that progress in addressing these issues has been painfully slow. For years, the creation of a high-level, catchment-wide plan essential to manage this cross-border issue was impeded by political differences between the Welsh and UK governments. Meanwhile, the regulatory agencies struggled to enforce existing environmental protections effectively. Finally, after 3 ministerial visits, including one from the Secretary of State for DEFRA to Hereford in June 2023, we managed to secure publication of the River Wye Action Plan last year. This at least covered the English part of the river, and £35 million was reallocated from within existing DEFRA budgets to fund mitigations and the development of an integrated long-term recovery strategy. The then government also announced that it had appointed a new river champion, whose job it was to lead the detailed planning work in collaboration with key stakeholders on both sides of the border. The plan for the Wye was by no means perfect, but for the first time it provided a framework and money badly needed to support projects and research, and a named person to help drive things forward on the ground. It was therefore deeply disappointing when the plan was dropped by the new government after the general election, alongside the idea of the river champion. And it is still more disappointing that the Treasury is also now rowing back on the previous government's commitment to ring-fence money from fines on water companies and use them for a river restoration fund. That is a massive step backwards. Water companies have paid many tens of millions of pounds in fines since 2022 alone. This money should go back into saving our rivers. So what is to be done, Madam Deputy Speaker? Protecting and restoring the Wye requires a long-term collaborative approach, as I have highlighted. The UK and Welsh governments, the agencies, farmers, businesses, local authorities, environmental groups and local people all have a role to play in developing a strategy that balances economic sustainability with environmental responsibility. So while I am very glad that my colleague, the MP for North Herefordshire, is co-sponsoring this bill, it is a great pity that other Y catchment MPs have chosen not to, and indeed I do not notice a single Y catchment MP in this House. A great sadness. This bill is clear and simple in its intent. It would for the first time require the Secretary of State for DEFRA, by law, to publish and implement a plan for cleaning and improving the water quality of the River Wye. I think that is a measure which every MP of every constituency, inside or outside the Wye catchment, should be enthusiastic to support. Solutions must include better land management, improved water treatment, effective incentives for sustainable farming, and stronger oversight and enforcement. The Wye Catchment 2025 management plan is designed to cover not just water quality, but biodiversity loss and flood and drought vulnerability. And the nutrient management